Hey guys, what's up? So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you the top things that you need to know before you go to Europe. So I've been visiting Europe every single summer for at least a month since I can remember, and I've lived in France for a whole year, so I can guarantee you that these tips are going to be accurate and very helpful, especially if you're coming from the United States and it's your very first time abroad. But just in general, there's a lot of things that make a European vacation very unique and different, which is why I think that you guys are really going to benefit from these tips. Comment down below where you're going to be visiting, and let's get started. There really are so many different tips that I could give you guys for your trip to Europe, but I decided in today's video I'll put it into 3 different categories. So I'll be talking about packing and the clothes to bring, restaurants, and water. Yes, water. So let's get started. So the first thing I think that you should know before you go to Europe is that the lighter you pack, the better. You're most likely going to be visiting a whole bunch of different countries during your trip to Europe, and you're going to be moving a lot, which is why it's going to be very uncomfortable if you're taking so many bags and if it's not very organized. So what I recommend is to just take one big suitcase, if not ideally, one carry-on and one backpack. You're going to be surprised by how much you can actually fit in there, and if you are visiting a lot of different countries, they're most likely going to be very close to each other, which means you're going to have the exact same weather and climate, so you don't really have to pack for winter and summer in the same suitcase, so you could always just be reusing outfits. The second thing that I think that you should know is that it's not, like I said, very comfortable to move around because the streets are very old. I mean, you're visiting a country that has a lot of rich history, and they really try to preserve everything. So they're not really just going to be putting cement and easy to stroll around with your luggage. It's going to be a very bumpy ride. Another thing is that you're going to be using a lot of public transportation. So you're going to be getting on buses, on trams, on metros, and you're going to have to be picking up your luggage with you. So if you go down to the metro, there's not really going to be a lot of elevators to help you go down. So you're going to have to pick up your luggage and go down a lot of those stairs to get to your metro station. So that is something to keep in mind. To pack light because it's not going to be very comfortable to move around. The fourth thing that you should know before you go to Europe is that people dress a lot nicer there compared to the United States. Here in the US, it's very common to see people wearing gym clothes to go to the supermarket, shopping, or even going out to dinner. In general, they dress a lot more casually. Shorts and a t-shirt is totally fine here in the US. In Europe though, that's not really the case. People dress a lot nicer and fancier in a way. You're going to be seeing women always wearing skirts, dresses, and blouses, and then men are going to be wearing button-downs or polo shirts. So if you would like to fit in, take those outfits. Always dress a little bit fancier than you would do back home. Okay, so now let's move on to category number 2, restaurants. You're most likely going to be eating out a lot more since you are on vacation, and it's not that easy to cook meals if you're at a hotel. So the fifth thing that you should know is that a lot of restaurants close during the day for nap time or just taking a break from work. So in Spain, they call it siesta, but some other countries, they don't really call it anything. It's just a time that people just don't work, they go home, they rest. So if you are coming from the United States and you're used to eating at 5 or 6 p.m., don't expect restaurants in Europe to open before 7 p.m. Now, it really just all depends on the country. I know that, the average is 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. things close, but it really just all depends. Also, if you're in a very touristy area of the city, then maybe the places will stay open. But just keep that in mind and know that if you're someone that gets hungry at maybe 4 or 5 or 6 p.m., to already have some snacks that you bought from the supermarket, or to maybe pack some meals or take them with you so you have them when you actually get hungry. The sixth thing that you should know before you go to Europe is that when you're at a restaurant, you're not gonna get rushed because they enjoy and they prioritize quality time and spending time not doing anything. That is what they expect you to do. So compared to the United States, where they sit you down, they give you the menu, they give you the food, and they give you the check, and they take out the plates, and bing bang boom, in 1 hour you're in and out. Don't expect that when you go to Europe. You're going to have to ask for the check. They're going to give you time to really eat your food. They're not going to take your plate out right away. They're not going to give you the menu. They're not going to come and ask. They're not going to bother you because that's just not in their culture. They enjoy time. So it's great because you're going to be able to finally relax if you're coming from the US, but that might be a big shocker. So the seventh thing that you should know is that you're going to have to ask for the check, and maybe you're going to have to ask for them to come over because they're not really going to come and ask you every 3 minutes, is everything okay? Can I take a plate out? Do you want me to put something in? you know, it's just gonna be a lot more relaxed. So you're gonna have to ask, which is great. They're not gonna rush you, and you, like, going out for dinner is a whole experience. It's spending time with family and friends and talking. So that is something amazing. But again, like I said, a big shocker for Americans. So the 8th thing that you should know relating to restaurants is that tip is not mandatory, but I mean, it is usually given, but it's usually just under 10%. 5 to 10% is a perfect amount to leave, and people are happy when you leave them a tip. It's not like here in the United States where it's expected. You have to give 20%. If not, the waiter's gonna look at you bad. No, like, it's not in their culture to give so much. You give them 5 or 10%, and if the service is really bad, because it might be, then you leave a little bit less. And if it's amazing, then you leave more. It's up to you to decide, but you're not gonna feel pressured like you feel in the United States to leave 20 or 22%. So the 9th thing that you should know before you go to Europe relating to restaurants is that when you get the check, you might see some things that aren't that common for you. For example, you might get charged for bread. So here in the US, you're kind of always just given bread automatically, but in Europe, you're gonna have to ask for it, or if not, they're going to kind of sell it to you. They're going to tell you that it's fresh, and then if you want it, you'll get it. But you're going to get charged. And then the next thing that you'll get charged for is service/utensils. So this isn't for the waiter, but it's actually the money for the owner of the restaurant. So they're kind of charging you for what you're going to be using, either the plates or the utensils. I don't know how they're going to call it, either utensils or service, but that isn't the tip. So if you see that, you still should give the waiter tip if you want to. And just don't be shocked if you see that. It's very common. It's not that expensive, maybe 2 to 3 euros. Okay, so this next thing isn't that big of a deal, but if you are a Diet Coke fan, I'm sorry, I have to tell you this, you're not gonna find that in Europe. Restaurants or coffee shops, they only have 0 or regular. So if you are a Diet Coke fan, I don't know how you're gonna do it. Maybe you bring your own bottles or your own cans, or you drink wine or beer instead. I don't know, but just don't expect Diet Coke. I've never seen Diet Coke in Europe, but if you have, let me know down below. Okay, so now we're at the last category, water. So I kind of lost count on what number we're at, but the next thing that you should know is that water is very expensive in Europe. So if you're walking around and you're in a very touristy area, expect to pay for a small bottle 1 to up to 3 euros. I mean, 3 euros is if they're really robbing you, so just don't pay 3 euros. Wait until you find one for 1 or 2. But know that water is expensive, which is why what I recommend is that if you're really desperate, buy a small water for 2 euros, and then go to the supermarket and buy the big bottles, which those are going to be less than 1 whole euro if you go to the supermarket, and then just fill up your small water to have with you throughout the entire day. But luckily, the next thing that you should know is that most cities in Europe, they have free water fountains. So I'm gonna pop up a video right here to show you what it looks like. You're gonna see these all over. I just wanna let you know that it's completely clean and it's completely normal to drink out of these bottles, out of these fountains. They look old, that's because everything in Europe is old, but they do maintain it and it's good water, at least from all the experiences that I have, and you're most likely going to find a lot of tourists either washing their hands or filling up their water bottle. So that is something good to know, is to buy a water bottle and then just always be looking for fountains to fill them up. And then the last thing relating to water, and my last tip for you, is that when you go to restaurants, you're not going to get free water. So here in the US, if you sit at the restaurant, they're automatically going to give you a glass of water. I think it's even the law that they have to give you water wherever they serve you food. In Europe, that is not the case. Again, you're going to be charged for a bottle of water. And something that you should know is that water is usually more expensive than alcohol in Europe. So you could most likely just get a glass of wine or champagne or beer or whatever, and it might be even cheaper than water or Coke. So that is something good to know. Well, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys found at least a couple of these things helpful. And let me know down below where you're going to be visiting, and if you have already visited Europe, what was your favorite country? I'll see you guys next time. Bye!